All right, everybody, welcome to the Black Diamond Call for Monday, December 18th, 2017, almost 2018. Here we go. I believe, this is going to be our last Black Diamond for the year because we have, I'm looking at the calendar right now. We've got the 25th, which is a week exactly from today, and that's Christmas Day, so we're not going to be doing our Black Diamond Call that day. And we have the 1st, which is New Year's Day, right after that, so we're not going to be doing a Black Diamond Call on New Year's Day. So this is our last Black Diamond for the year. And we're going to end it very auspiciously with someone who I got to know over the past year and a half or so that I've been working with, Michael Force and the whole Digital Altitude gang. But before we bring him out, I do want to let you all know that we are having a tremendous end of the month here. Many of you are applying the Freedom to Freedom formula that was discussed over the last couple of special broadcasts with Michael and most recently with Darren and Rhonda. And simply, driving traffic, communicating with your prospects and customers, and teaching your team to do the same. These three things just keep showing up in the lives and businesses of top earners here in Digital Altitude. So happy days. And, of course, tonight we're going to be talking with one of our top earners right here on the Black Diamond Call, as is the agenda here whenever we get together each week. So the rules for the call are: take what you like and leave the rest. See how these ideas apply into your life and into your business. These ideas are for use. Okay, so whatever you hear tonight, see how they actually work in your life, not just for entertainment purposes, but actually do something with the information, right? That's the key. And then, of course, if I say anything that offends you, you'll get over it, because I tend to be a little bit loose with my mouth on this call sometimes and rattle a couple cages. So, but yeah, there we go. So what we're going to be talking about tonight, actually, I don't know what we're going to be talking about. I don't have a topic, but I do have an awesome guest speaker, and I believe he is in Australia right now. Last time he hosted one of our live broadcasts, he was in, I think, Louisiana, if memory serves. And I am talking about none other than Justin Holland. How are you, Justin?
Very well, John. Yes, I am in Australia, and the last time I did speak on this call was I was in New Orleans, actually. New Orleans. So yeah, I was with TJ Fennon, who I'm sure many of you guys have met and have seen all over the leaderboards as well. One of my close friends. So yeah, very happy to be here, John. And I can't believe we are literally just a few days away from Christmas. Wow.
I know. Yep. And so now you're getting nice and toasty down there. Summer's coming. And we are freezing up here. And,
yeah, absolutely. It's nice and warm in Melbourne at the moment. It's a balmy 30 degrees, which would be close to 90 for you guys over there. So yeah, feeling quite toasty.
Love it. So what do you want to discuss here tonight, Justin? It's been a while since we've shared you with the whole crew here in Digital Altitude Land. I'm wondering where you'd like to go with all this.
Yeah, I know people haven't really heard from me publicly for a little while, but I wanted to obviously talk about the trenches that I always dig myself in with my team, a little bit about myself and where I've come from and where I am today, and hopefully a few little nuggets that I can share with everyone. So nothing completely there's no real topic. I just have a flow that I want to go with.
Let's do it. Let's go with the flow.
Cool. I actually just got off a team call of mine. I actually hosted it. It was supposed to be at 8:30, but I put it back to 8 o'clock tonight, so I could make sure I had time to get on this call and prepare myself. So I just off a team call, and I had one of my lovely team members talking about how when she started betting on herself, now not in a gambler's way, but really challenging yourself and putting yourself out there. And I want to take you back to when I first took that bet on myself. I was 23 years old. I was working in electrical engineering, and I had a great job. I worked for a government department, earning $80,000 a year. With ridiculous benefits. If I told you about the benefits, you wouldn't really believe them. So I won't go there. But I was earning great money and had a great job, great stable job. My parents were super proud of me. But I remember getting this job, and I don't know. I haven't been for a job interview since then. So I don't really know the process of how it works. It was 7 years ago now, or 8 years ago now, and I remember getting the document for the job interview, the job kind of description, and I went through it all, and instead of using my instinct and my, supposed knowledge, I went and studied the description and learned the description so that no matter what question they asked me inside the interview, I could answer simply from my memory from what I studied the day before or whatever it was. And now there was a huge downfall in that because I studied it and asked fellow colleagues in my previous job, what are the answers to this? What kind of things should I be expecting? So I kind of knew it. It'd be like going for an exam. I don't know if you've done it before, John, but going for an exam, and as soon as it finishes, you kind of just forget what you just learnt. It was kind of one of those for me, and I got the job. I got it with flying colours, and I was super happy. But what I realised is that when I got this job, I didn't really understand the actual job I was doing. The only thing that I really understood, because it was quite far-fetched from what the engineering side of things that I was doing beforehand. So it was a big step for me. And the issue is that I was going into a job with no support. I was expected to do it all on my own. And in the end, I was doing this job that I really couldn't do. And I was so frustrated. And it really got me down. I was really frustrated, and I really didn't have many people to go to ask for help. And so I just thought to myself, I have to get out of here. I have to figure out something else. And that was when I took my first bet on myself. And what I did is, I'm sure a lot of you guys have done the same thing. You started Googling on ways to make money and all this kind of stuff. At that time, I was 23 years old. I was playing high-grade soccer, football. So I wanted to kind of stay in that. I wanted to go into that field and use my expertise in there. So I ended up betting on myself and setting up my own little soccer business back home in Sydney, Australia, which was great. But what I did by getting rid of that job, instead of I was going to go on to a 23-year-old and buying my first house, I was very happy about it. But instead, I took that bet on myself and put that money into a new business. And I can tell you right now, it's the best thing I ever did. And I want to give you a bit of a story about that because it's pretty insane. I was living with my parents at that time, and a 23-year-old making this little soccer business happen. And a soccer business sounds like teaching kids to play soccer and all that, but I absolutely loved my job. I was teaching toddlers aged 2 years old up to 7 years old, kind of gross motor skills, educational learning skills, and then obviously the fun about the soccer ball at their feet. Now, great job, I loved it. But the thing is, at 23 years old, I was living at my parents' house, which is, normal for a lot of 23-year-olds, particularly these days. And over the next 4 years, my business flourished. We're bringing in anywhere between $500,000 and $1 million a year in revenue. But what I took home was much less than a tenth of that. So for those who don't know what Sydney, Australia is like, it's one of the most expensive cities in the world. $50,000 a year isn't going to get me very far. And that was, 4 years into it, I was earning about that. And, I had dreams. I was honestly living in my parents' basement because I needed an office too. And I only had the bedroom upstairs in my parents' house. I needed an office, and I couldn't afford to get an office. So I asked my parents if I could live in their basement. It was like this kind of, my parents dug out under our house, this kind of kid play area when we were really young. And, in my 20s, we weren't using it anymore. So I said, can I kind of build my business in there? And Mum's like, oh, okay, no problem. So she let me, which is great. And, I had a fantastic time in that basement building my business and, learning the ropes of, owning my own business. I feel very fortunate to have had a business before I started working online. I definitely think it helped me in good stead. And, I was running this business, and I ended up at the end of the kind of venture that I was on. I was bringing in 600 kids per week paying $20 each. So as you can imagine, it's a fair bit of income coming in. But, the downside is I had 15 employees, had to hire out different venues and halls every single day. And my margins were just cut to basically nothing. And I was getting really stressed out about it. I was watching all my friends move out, buy their houses, or rent in a nice area, and all this kind of good stuff. And I was living at home in my parents' basement with less money than what I started with after that 4-year period. And it really, really, it got to me. And I think when I started, I was loving my job, so I didn't really think of it too much for a while, but I started to realize that even with the expansion that I've done, it's just nothing's happening. All the expenses are really catching up, and when I get bigger, the expenses just catch up even more. And Mum always used to come down every night. She used to come down and see me on the computer doing my, getting my classes ready for the next day, booking kids in for the classes, all that kind of good stuff. And she always used to say, "How are you, Justin? Are you doing all right today?" I'm like, "Yeah, Mum, great, fantastic." And little did she know that I was really struggling. I would sit at the computer kind of just staring at it because I knew that the next day I would kind of bring in the same amount of money and work 10 to 12 hours in that day to try and improve it, even if it's just a few dollars. And it was frustrating. I think when we get to it, the automation part of what we do online is something to behold of, really, because I had it pretty automated, so I thought, in this business. And I think after a few months of me kind of feeling like this, Mum came in and she looked at me and she's just like, "Justin, what's wrong?" And I remember she just kind of came and hugged me and just said, "What's wrong? Everything's going to be okay." And I'm just like, "I can't do this." So we shared a bottle of wine and we spoke about things, and she kind of knew that I wasn't going to do this job forever. And honestly, that was around the time that the tough pill to swallow, knowing that I've built this business over so long. People won't say it's too long, but it felt like an eternity to me, particularly living at my parents' house. And she knew I wasn't going to do it forever. And that was around the time that I started thinking again outside the box and betting on myself, and started, I remember first off, the first thing that I looked at online when I started Googling stuff was ClickBank, which I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard of before. And I screwed around with ClickBank for a month or so, and I just kind of threw it to the side. I'm like, "No, this is not for me." And then a few months later, something else popped up again, and I saw this guy on Facebook who was kind of traveling the world. He was an ex-plumber from New Zealand, and he just resonated with me so much, and I just sent him a message. And I don't know how many of you guys have connected with someone before in that kind of level, but that connection is just something different so that you've ever seen before. And I'm still, he's one of my best mates now. Him and his partner are two of my best friends. We catch up multiple times a year all over the world, and I'm thankful for him to introducing me to the online world all those years ago. It's actually coming up to my 3rd anniversary, John, so that's pretty exciting. So that comes up in February 2018 when it'll be 3 years of me being online. And my journey online kind of just started then in February 2015, and a couple of months later I put my business up for sale, which was a huge relief, but everyone was just telling me, "What are you doing, Justin? What are you doing?" I had made a couple of $1,000s online by the time I put my business up for sale. I took a leap of faith, and as I keep going back to, I've been putting bets on myself over the years, and what I'm about to get into just proves that betting on yourself in the right way is going to give you that return 10 times what you put in. So I put my business up for sale, and the months passed, and it eventually got sold a few months later. And ever since then, I started traveling the world full time. I've been traveling all the way through Central America, South America, the United States, lived in Bali, lived in Colombia, lived in New Zealand, lived in the United States for a while. So I've had a whirlwind few years here, and at the start of the year I came back home to Australia just to come back I thought I was going to come back for 6 months or so and just settle down and see my family and friends for a while. And then met my partner, and now we're actually expecting our first little one due next year. So exciting times down here in Melbourne, and that kind of takes me to what people's whys are. Like, what is your why? You really have to understand why you are attempting to make this work, or why are you doing this? Are you doing it for your family? Are you doing it to travel more? For me, at first, it was simply to be able to afford to move out of my parents' place, and two, be able to travel full time. Now, I've comfortably done those two, but as you can imagine, travel isn't my complete priority at the moment. So my why has completely changed, and that is now to provide for my family, build a foundation for my family, my parents, and allow all of us to really live life on our own terms. And I guess the biggest hit of being able to do that was when I started with Digital Attitude, and it's just been an absolutely incredible ride. As John said, I first spoke to John about 18 months ago, and the journey started back then when I'm still a complete newbie online. As you can imagine, 3 years online is nothing. You think about the jobs that you're in, you've probably been at your job for 10, 20 years. You went to college for 4 years. That's longer than I've been online. Yet the money's been flowing in a lot more than what you'd earn at college or even in that 10-year period in your job. So, what I really focused on when I started was, I didn't really understand everything, but what I did understand was what I brought from my previous business, and that was helping out my employees a lot and really giving them a good place to work. And I'm like, how can I transfer this to the online world? And as I said before, I just got off a team call, and that's something that I do 3 times a week actually. I have team calls 3 times a week with my team, and it's allowed me to really leverage what Digital Attitude has set up. Now, I'm not the one who has tens of thousands of people signing up to me every year. I'm the one with a few hundred sign-ups that has built a team that I'm sure, as John will be able to explain it even in better terms, but I've been able to leverage what DA has to offer, and that is they really reward those who put in the effort, and that's where it comes down to, whether you want to be that person who brings in tens of thousands of people into Digital Attitude, or you want to be someone who wants to focus their time on just the little amount of team people. And that was just me. It's just the background I come from. Everyone's different. Whether they want to drive a ton of traffic into a certain place. What I do is I drive a ton of traffic, right? But I just drive it in different ways. I drive it a lot on social media and things like that, which is completely fine. And we all do our own thing to make our teams rock. So I guess it's funny seeing how far I've come, and knowing that just even 18 months ago I was so new to this world. And I think people need to understand that how quickly a life can be transformed in this online world. And yeah, I just think that taking a bet on yourself at the right times is a good way to really differentiate yourself from others. I'm someone who I'll spend a lot of money on things that are going to improve my business. A lot of people will do that too, but I do it knowing that I may not get an immediate result from it, but I'm going to take a bet on it and say that the education that I learn here, or the course that I invest in, or the mentor that I pay for is going to give me that tenfold return over the coming years. So I know a lot of people look at their income or their outgoings this way, and a lot of people think of it as how much am I spending over how much am I going to make? Whereas for some reason, I've never had that mindset. I've always had the mindset of how much am I going to make before how much do I have to spend. So what I do is if I know I'm going to make X amount of money, I'm happy to spend anywhere up to that to make that kind of money, because I know that what's going to happen in the future is that my confidence, my education is just times by however much it was, and I'm able to go into the next little venture that allows me to be even better next time. So I guess that's a big part of what I want to talk to you guys, what I want to tell you guys today, is that take those bets on yourself and trust in your instinct, trust in your gut, and really don't let the naysayers talk you out of it. Because if I listened to those naysayers back when I was 23 years old, when they told me I was stupid for leaving my engineering job, I'd still be in that engineering job, struggling, not enjoying it, and I certainly wouldn't be where I am today. I've been fortunate enough, just in digital attitude, to make nearly $600,000 in commissions over the past 18 months, which is quite incredible, considering I had been online for a year before that. And overall, I would have made around $1 million in commissions. So getting close to that seven-figure earner now, John, which is pretty incredible.
Yeah, that is huge, so, man. And you've only been online 3 years. I didn't realize that, Justin. That's big. Wow, you're doing it.
Yeah.
I remember when I first, not to make this about me, I'm just going to relate to your story a little bit. When I bet on me, because you're talking about betting on you, which sounds flippant, although it's not. I mean, you were a frustrated employee, right? Here comes mom and giving you hugs and wine and everything else. And I'm thinking, man, this guy was not doing so good. And then, here you are, less than 3 years later, and earning the money, made a name for yourself. You've made your mark in this industry. A lot of people know who you are, and more people certainly will now, or once they hear this, the podcast, if they're not on, the live session. But when I broke free, it was after years of struggle in a job. I started to think that maybe I just wasn't cut out to be an entrepreneur. But Justin, once I found a business model that was able to pay me what I was worth in my assessment, right? I just clung on and never let go. Now, in my case, that's some decades ago. So a lot of times, guys like you and other people like Jason Stone, who we had out here last week, and other people. They're clearly, you guys are top earners, top producers. That's beautiful. And sometimes I have to remember, wow, people do it really fast. I did it really fast. The decision, here's the thing, everyone, and what I'm getting out of your talk here tonight, Justin, your decision to, as you say, bet on yourself, right? That decision does not take a long time. And a lot of times people think that transformation takes a long time. Well, actually, once you make a decision, then the transformation is pretty fast too. I think the thing that holds people up a lot, I know because I've been studying psychology and philosophy for 30 years, is indecision. Indecision, right? Well, maybe, right? All right, well, you lose. As long as you're stuck in a maybe, you lose, right? If you think about, you can actually go to insane asylums and observe people who are stuck in a chronic, never-ending maybe, right? So that's craziness. That's what that is. And the more decisive we are, and the more definiteness of purpose we demonstrate, the faster we go. I could tell you just right now today, right? If I'm decisive about something, then things are getting done. I actually have more time in my life when I have decisions and then I follow through with action, because a decision without action is not really a decision. And now I've completed whatever I need to complete. Now I've got time to do something else, right? But the thing that eats up time or keeps us in a job ad infinitum, or whatever the unsatisfactory or unsatisfying conditions are, that thing is indecision. Indecision. That's the killer. And so you bet on yourself. You don't know how to reach a goal until you've actually reached it, right? So that's where I think the whole bet thing comes in, but it's not really a gamble. It's more of a calculated risk based on your own self-assessment and self-awareness. And you did that, and now here you are just less than 3 years later, right? You don't need to be a poser at a job that you're not even qualified for, and whatever else you were doing, remembering and reciting back, some rote set of title descriptions or something, right? But you know what? That's much of academia, right, Justin? I mean, you think about we got kids coming out of university here in the States, and I'm sure in Australia as well, with easily $150,000 worth of student loan debt and absolutely zero marketable skills, nothing, right? They'll go get a job, serving coffee at Starbucks or something. It's a travesty. And so for you to actually
sad.
engage,
It's sad.
yeah. So for you to engage with education that actually matters, not just so you can, recite academically, some, here's what the page said, on page number 1700 or something, here is what the historical fact or whatever, but none of it's usable, right? Education is for use. And if you can't do something with the education, you're in the wrong field of education.
I look around my office now, and I have all these books, and I have these whiteboards and all these little things that there's no way I would have had any of this stuff back when I had a job. It's just incredible to see what kind of person I've kind of morphed into. I felt like I think I was always that person, but I didn't really know it. And I think that indecision that you talk about kind of stopped me from doing it. But I think fortunately for me, I kind of decided and was betting on myself pretty early on in my life, or in my 20s. And I think a lot of people will find it hard to do that at that age. And so, I guess one thing is I urge you to, do that self-assessment, as John said, and start betting on yourself in the calculated way, of course. As John said, we're not talking about doing risk at all, but yeah, really start thinking about what do you want to look like in 3 years' time? Do you want to be sitting in an office with a whiteboard there teaching people what to do? I'm looking around my office now, John. I've got this big world map. Do you want to be able to look at that world map and say, I've been here, thanks to everything I've been doing over the past couple of years? Do you want to look at your little bookshelf here and look at all these amazing books that you love and read? It's pretty amazing. And then turn around, I got all these kind of gadgets and computers that I love. So yeah, 3 years ago, I wouldn't have even thought about having an office like this. My office was based around children's soccer balls, and before that was engineering papers and things like that. So yeah, how times change, hey John, but times change for the better when you really want them to.
Yeah. It's desire precedes the decision and then the action, and clearly, a lot of times people need to get really dissatisfied with conditions as they are before they start to entertain creative thought. People often shut themselves down; they don't bet on themselves, and I think that's a missed opportunity. When I think about the old saying, don't die with the music in you. Here's the thing, Justin, and everyone, we're going to have an effect one way or another. We're going to have an effect. Maybe it's a pleasing one, maybe it's a not pleasing one, maybe it's one of just demonstrating, how to cause nothing in your life. That's still having an effect. But still, if we think about the deliberate choices that we make, whether that's something on autopilot, like going to a job every day, or whether that's delving into the most profitable and usable thing that you could learn if you want to increase your financial ability, and of course that is sales and marketing, which is statistically the highest paid profession in the world. Unless you look good in a bikini, shaking your butt on stage like Lady Gaga or whoever's popular. Justin, do you do the bikini dances? Is that you?
Absolutely not, John. I don't think anyone should ever see me in a bikini.
Okay, so then for guys like you and I, then we'll just we'll do sales and marketing then. So it's a bit more,
as we will.
Yeah, a bit more predictable. So yeah, and even like show business and stuff, not predictable. You can look at a bikini, but it doesn't mean you're getting paid. But the where am I going with this? I'm totally off the rails. But yeah, when we think about the person who comes here with a goal of $10,000 a month or $20,000 a month or whatever, these are real numbers for guys like you and I, right? I mean, that was my goal years and years ago, and you've certainly exceeded those numbers as well. The idea, though, for most people, is I just hope that could be true for me. Well, here's the thing, everybody. If you haven't experienced these kind of results yet, like what Justin's talking about, this transition, it simply means that you haven't engaged yet in the methods that Justin and I have, and done so in a way that we have done it. Okay, this is not a hobby. This is not a something that we'll try it out. And Justin, I do some coaching here, and I get to talk with people, most of which are very serious, and they want to go forward and reach actual goals, known goals, nothing vague. Okay, known goals, and that's very nice, very pleasing. Sometimes I'll encounter someone who they're going to try it out, and I know that they've got no shot. They don't even have a shot. So, and I'm rather direct with people. It's like, no, that doesn't get it done. Half measures avail us nothing. So, what you wanted to say something about that?
Yeah, I think I would have been your perfect student back when I first got started. I remember when I had my soccer business, which I was working 60, 70 hours a week. So I was already working a lot, and when I first started, I knew I had to work, right? I knew I had to work. So what I did is I took off Sundays. I gave that to an employee. I knew I wouldn't make any money that day, but I was looking for the future. So I gave the jobs to the employees to do on Sundays, and I made every Sunday my kind of work day for the online business. But that's not enough. So what I did is I'd wake up at 4 a.m. every morning for the next few months before my business was sold, and I'd do those 3 hours in the morning until 7 o'clock of work with the online stuff, learning and implementing and moving forward, and then at night time, just before I kind of knocked off and went to bed, I'd spend an hour or two either reading or going through some trainings and the same type of stuff. And so I ended up doing 30 hours or so a week on my online business. And I know not everyone is capable of doing that, but if you want it that bad, you're probably going to make it happen. And after 5 months, I think it was 6 months, I had my first $10,000 month while I still had my business. And then the next month later, I sold it, and then I could work solely full time on the online world. So yeah, I know what you mean, John. People that want to take it as a hobby, it's just probably not going to happen, unfortunately. No, it's not probably. It's definitely not going to happen. So definitely treat it as your future, and treat it like a full-time career.
Absolutely. The and the beauty of it too, Justin, is that you can do lifestyle kind of stuff, right? In some cases, like with our events, of course, you're going to exotic locations and you're having business trips and drinking coconut juice and all that. That's very nice. Of course, that's also a business expense, right? I'm not a tax attorney, but I can tell you that we go on a bunch of business trips. But at the same time, you can also have lifestyle in the way that you have, like you've got a child on the way. Congratulations, by the way. Very excited for you. And
Thank you.
And you can actually be there and participate in your life and in the lives of people who are, important to you. That's a beautiful thing. Like right now, I'm traveling. I'm out, and yet I'm not on vacation, right? I mean, this call started on time, and I've got some coaching students after this, and my calendar is a little bit, spread out. Getting up at 5 in the morning and work until late at night, but I'm doing activities that I choose to do during the day, and this is a trip that I've planned for a while, and there's that, right? So that doesn't mean that you are. When I say people being serious about this, that does not mean you're a slave to your business. No, in this business, you can certainly craft it to suit your lifestyle. I certainly have, and yeah.
That's like John. I guess I can probably jump in here. When I was traveling, I had to still try and make money online. So I always dedicated a few hours a day to work while I was traveling, and that certainly paid dividends. But I think this year was probably my most serious year in working online, as in. I had a dedicated office back at home, and I actually work pretty much full time. But the reason why I work full time is because I would not want to be doing anything else with my life. And when you honestly get to that point in your life, you'll never work another day in your life. I don't feel like I ever work. I feel like I just jump on the computer and have fun and make some money at the same time. So when you get to that spot in your life, you'll know you're in a good spot.
It is. It is a really good spot to be in. And I know that that's why people are here, right, to have this experience. So why don't we do this, Justin? We've got a few people here online who join us live, and some of them may want to communicate with you directly. So we're going to go into Q&A mode here. Just stand by. We'll do that. All right. So the lines are open. If you would like to come out here and talk with Justin down in Australia, live and in person, you can do so by clicking the raise your hand button, which was your mute and unmute button on your free conference call app. And if you are dialing in with a phone or with Skype to an actual phone number, you can raise your hand by clicking *6, and then I think the number 1 to confirm that you're going to raise your hand. And this is your shot to talk with Justin live. And I do see our first caller here. Let's go up. He vanished. See, that happens often. Okay, here we go. Here we have our first call. We got a couple calls. Here we go. So it looks like Michael. Michael, you're live on the air.
Hey, Justin. How you doing?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great. Yeah, my question is, I'm currently 21 right now, and I'm, looking into this space right now. And my question is, what's the best way to kind of, because, my parents are kind of giving me some heat about this. So what's the best way to kind of get them to understand where I'm coming from and where I'm trying to go with this business?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think a lot of people, have that, particularly at, the early 20s kind of age. Like, as I said, I was there just a little while ago, so I do get it completely. And I think it still happens anyway. No matter how old you get, people are going to be, skeptical or on your back about, what are you trying to do? What's wrong with the path that your parents have set you? And I think when you kind of let them in a bit more, I remember when I first spoke to my mum about working for myself, she's like, no, there's no way. Even though my dad had his own business for 30 years, she was just like, nah, there's no way. But when I just started letting her in a bit more, kind of sat around with her while I was doing my work, and then when it transferred to the online world, I did the same thing. I just kind of sat with her and told her about what's going on and how I'm on these calls and talking to people, and I'm setting up my your Instagram account today. Have a look at this one. Do you want to see my links, and just kind of let them in.
Okay.
I know, just let them in, and straight away they're probably going to say, oh, what's that? This looks weird. They have to be let in for them to get used to it. If they never get let in, they're never going to get used to it. So my advice is, if you're comfortable with that, is to just let them in a bit more. And over time, their opinions on what you're trying to do, or the entrepreneur life that you're trying to take, they'll calm down. Absolutely, I can guarantee you that.
All right. Thank you so much, Justin. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Awesome stuff. Thanks for jumping out here, Michael. And I also see Jarrett in the chat roll here said, love that. Heard it all my life. Love your job. You never work a day in your life. And I could never really see that in everything I've done, even in my new career. But now for the first time, I can see really enjoying doing this online and making money at the same time, too. So well done, Jarrett. Sounds like you got the message. So good stuff. We're going to go to our next caller. And stand by. And Linda. Yes, Linda, you're live on the air.
Okay, great. Hey, thanks, Justin, so much. My question is, at what point did you start doing training for your team?
Good question. Great question. I like this because I feel like it's one of my fortes, so happy to answer this one. What I actually did when I first started online, I did it without I didn't have a team or anything like that, so I didn't really have anyone to give training to. But what I did is I started making a catalog of training. So when I learned something, instead of just writing notes, I would, because a lot of what we do online, people, you know, we go through the digital attitude steps and you see videos, and PDF. So a lot of it is video. And what I did, when I learned something, I'd do a video on it, either just me or I'd share my screen on the computer and I'd go through steps of a particular thing, whether it be setting up my first funnel or learning how to set up an Instagram account or doing a Facebook advertisement or writing an email. By the time I had a team, I had all these tutorials that I could literally just pass to my team. And my teams, I think when I first started building a team, they kind of exploded quite quickly because I didn't have to answer questions all day, every day, because I already had a catalog of training. And now, understandably, a lot of that training will have to be redone because you become better at things and all that kind of stuff. But that's just life. Every time we become better at something, we have to, reinvigorate it, retrain on it, and that's just normal. But don't be afraid, because what I did notice with me is that every time I did a training on it, just for my own purposes, so I could give to people later if it kind of worked that way, that I remembered it so much better. And when I did get asked a question, I can easily answer it within a couple of seconds instead of saying to them, "Oh, I'll have to get back to you. I need to have a look at that myself and read up my notes." You just kind of teach yourself, and I think you should record it. I think it's a great idea to have a catalog of training for yourself that, eventually maybe your team wants.
I love it. I love it so much. I've already started doing a couple, and I'm like, okay, I don't really have a team yet, but that's
Do it.
awesome.
Keep doing it.
Good stuff. All right.
Keep
Thank
going.
you, Linda. And I don't see any other callers. Anybody else want to jump out here? Here we go. Here's our next caller. So thank you, Linda. We're going to go next to Cameron. Cameron, you're live on the air.
All right, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
I was just going to kind of refer to the first question asked about the guy that said he was 21. I'm actually 21 as well, and I was wondering how to deal with the same thing. I still live at home with my mother. She was kind of skeptical about me starting everything with this as well, but once I actually started getting into and getting really involved with this, she saw how committed I actually was to doing this and starting with this business. She started to realize that, hey, he's really into something, and this isn't just something that's like a shiny object to him. It's just not a fad coming through, that he's really committed to doing something. And then at that point, when, like Justin was saying, when they're actually let in on what you're doing and they start understanding, they start to, start to really feel what you're doing and start supporting what you're doing and, things like that.
I love that. That's awesome. I love that your mother just kind of, mothers have this kind of knack of knowing when you're on the right path eventually. They like to put up barriers straight up, but that's normal. But eventually they really do believe in you, and I think you're just proof there that, when you really showed how committed you were, and it wasn't just some shiny thing that you're just going to get rid of in a couple of months. It's amazing to see how quickly a mum can transform into that kind of skeptical nature, put up those barriers into, a fully supportive mother. It's awesome, mate. Well done.
Exactly.
Good stuff, Cameron. Well, congratulations, and we are looking forward to hearing a lot more from you. And we're going to go to our next caller is Jagdish. Jagdish, you're live on the air.
Hey, John, can you hear me?
You can.
Hey, John. Hey, Justin. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Good.
Okay, so thank you for taking the time to share your story with us. It's very inspiring.
Thank
you. Before my question, just a quick comment. So there's a difference between me and Cameron and me and the first caller. So they're both 21, and I'm not 21, but I have a 21-year-old. And I'm trying to guide my kids gently into this whole online thing, because I think the sooner they find out, the better off their lives will be, I guess. So my question for you, Justin, is when you you built the training materials even before you had a team, which is a fantastic idea. What was the focus of the training? Was it traffic, social media? Was it sales funnels, capture pages, or was it a bit of everything?
I guess, to be honest, a bit of everything. But I did focus on wanting to get people to look at my business. So first and foremost, it was traffic. So I've always based my traffic around social media. So it was a kind of a mix of learning social media better than I already did, and then implementing how can I build this, and then obviously with that you need your kind of capture page and your kind of video with it and your sales pages and stuff like that. So I got quite good at kind of the simple aspects of it. I never went too deep to start with. I kept it simple. I learned how to kind of send traffic, did videos on it, and then I obviously at the same time learned how to do my capture pages and kept it simple, literally just very simple, and just worked at it really hard for a few months, and I started seeing some really great results. And yeah, I kept it quite simple. I wouldn't go too crazy. Just stick to a couple of things and really focus your time on a couple of things. If you go across 5 or 6 traffic methods, it's going to make it really hard for you to get a really good grasp on them all, and it's probably going to take 5 times the amount of time to get the results.
Yeah, that's something I'm working on. I tend to complicate things. I tend to take the simplest of things and make them super complicated, and I'm trying to work my way towards simplicity. So my other question for you is, are you focused more on paid traffic or free traffic?
Both. I do a lot of traffic on Facebook advertisements, and then I do a lot of kind of free traffic across other social platforms like Instagram and ones like that. But yeah, so I do a mix, which I think it's a great thing. Pick a paid strategy and pick a free strategy. I think it means you've got 2 strategies. One's free, one's paid, which means the paid can be very automated. It can be kind of left in the background as long as you know what you're doing. And then the free traffic, you can kind of implement that as you go and have some fun with it. The free traffic methods are always fun because it doesn't cost you anything, and you can kind of take risks and do random stuff. The paid traffic is a great, my favorite one to use and learn because it gives me the results the fastest.
Right. Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Jadish. Very good. And we're going to go to what looks like our final caller for tonight, and that is Rick. Rick, you're live on the air.
Give that to Mommy.
Rick, you're live on the
Give it
air.
to Mommy. No, don't put it in the box.
We're hearing give it to Mommy. Hello.
No, there's a box.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead. We're going to go ahead. Apparently, Rick was not able to speak. Maybe there was some situation going on there, but we did hear from Rick in the chat roll as well. He was saying, my entire family thinks I'm crazy, but I know when the money starts coming in, they'll change their mind. Money talks. Okay, good stuff. Hey, Justin, thank you for sharing our Black Diamond with us, everyone here tonight. Always a pleasure to participate with you. Any closing comments before we go ahead and wrap up our session?
Thank you for having me, John. I guess, coming towards the end of the year now, I just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas. Take the time to be with your family and enjoy the festive period, stay safe, and really take the 2018 by the balls and really give it a good go because one thing I can say, it's all worth it. So go for it and go big.
Well said. Well said. Thanks again, sir. And everyone, we will see you here tomorrow for our wake-up call. And give Justin some love here in the chat roll or on Facebook and our Facebook group. And, of course, we'll look forward to getting here again on the Black Diamond right after the first of the year. I'll see you guys then. In the meantime, make it a great night. You absolutely deserve it. And bye for now.